Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today, the top 10 incredible and ridiculously awesome looking vehicles. For most of us, as far as our vehicles go, putting a GPS in is all the pioneering technology we might need. Maybe we'd consider getting a supposedly more environmentally friendly vehicle, but that would be pushing it. When it comes to personalizing our rides, a toy on the dashboard or a bumper sticker usually suffices. In the video today, we're looking at the visionaries who are on the cutting edge of technology or vehicular design, however practical or often impractical it may be. Number 10. Rinspeed sQuba. A lot of kids who watch the exploits in Bond movies fantasize about emulating them in real life. Fantasies, though, they weren't enough for Frank Rinderknecht, and as CEO of the Swiss automotive think tank and development lab Rinspeed, he was in a perfect position to bring this one to life, even if it cost him $1.5 million to essentially make something from The Spy Who Loved Me, which is regarded as one of the sillier Bond movies. All-electric, the sQuba is an exclusively open-top vehicle for safety reasons. On the surface, it reaches a top speed of 77 miles per hour, but on the surface of a body of water, it tops out at about 3 miles per hour, and underwater it drops down to 1.8. It's resistant to salt water, but it might not be safe for the open seas since it doesn't function well beneath a depth of 30 feet. There are actually 3 motors inside the trunk area and water screws under the hood for water propulsion. After it was unveiled to the world in 2008 during the Geneva Motor Show, there was discussion of making a small line of them on special order, but so far no word on whether that has surfaced. Number 9. The largest trucks in the world. You might think the largest truck would be some kind of novelty, some sort of long-haul vehicle. Maybe it would be a double-decker 18-wheeler. But it turns out that it's actually open-pit mining where the scale of vehicles used in hauling ore can quickly sound like they were designed by kids. How else would you describe tires easily as tall as 2 people? These vehicles, they don't only exist, there are numerous models worldwide vying for the top spot. Turns out the winner is located in the former Soviet satellite state of Belarus, and it's called the Belaz 75710. This monstrosity is about 2.5 stories in height, 31 feet wide, and about 67.5 feet in length, or about as long as 2 double-decker buses parked end to end. At a carrying capacity of 450 tons, that's 900,000 pounds, it's got the nearest competition beat by more than 50 tons. You might expect a truck like that to be a lumbering hulk, but it's actually capable of speeds of 40 miles per hour under road conditions and up to 25 miles per hour while going up a tricky gradient. There aren't many of them in the world currently because it costs $6 million to build each one, but you just know there are companies out there that won't be happy until they've got trucks that can manage 500-ton loads, so maybe this will seem tiny by the time a large line of these could be built. Number 8. The green Lego car. Many people never really needed anything more elaborate than a rubber band for their Lego vehicles. But that would never do for Australians Steve San Martino and Raul Oedia. In one of probably the top 100 things ever crowdfunded, 40 of their fellow citizens helped fund this novelty vehicle, modeled after the hot rod. Just the cost of the Lego parts alone was over $60,000. The 2 men didn't construct it themselves. That bit of labor was outsourced to Romania in a job probably no one ever expected to be outsourced. This ended up being a significant problem for them because in the process of shipping it to Australia, the vehicle was badly warped by heat and cold. But by December of 2013, it was fully functional again. The vehicle has more than 500,000 Legos snapped into it and runs completely on a system of air pistons, with more than 256 of those in its 4 engines. It's been clocked at going as fast as 20 miles per hour, and the 2 men didn't want to try speeds any higher than that. If going from hot weather to cool weather can severely damage a vehicle, it's probably not wise to push it to the limit. I mean, just imagine how many Legos you'd need to make a tow truck for it. Number 7. Wolfen Dragon. On pretty much the opposite end of the spectrum from a rather cute idea like a Lego car is this utter beast that's made of metal. The whole vehicle looks incredibly impressive, seemingly resembling more of a missile than a mere land vehicle. The reality is that we don't know very much about this vehicle, and that seems kind of appropriate, as this seems like this should have a bit of mystique to it. It was claimed that the vehicle had 2 flamethrowers in that, but here at TopTenz we find that unlikely, because if it did have 2 flamethrowers in it, the photo would definitely have those things going off. Number 6. The transition. The flying car basically became shorthand in American society for the future. Despite all the work that's gone into developing them, even the most optimistic developers concede that a functional model of vehicle such as Toyota's patented road friction reducing vehicle are years off, let alone cars that can hover high in the air. However, the Massachusetts-based company Terrafugia has already laid down a pretty good claim to the title, going a relatively low-tech route with the transition in 2013. Coming in at a relatively inexpensive $280,000, this vehicle can reach a top speed in flight of 100 miles per hour and has a range of about 400 miles. In flight, it can manage a load of about 500 pounds. The wings extend to about 27 feet wide, and they fold in to only about 7, making it both perfectly street legal and easily able to fit inside of the average suburban garage. Considering that it gets 35 miles to the gallon on the ground, though, you might just want to stick to driving it. Number 5. The largest motorcycle. While there was some reason for making gigantic dump trucks hauling hundreds of tons of stone across quarries, this enormous vehicle can't really claim much reason to exist beyond, well, why not? Finished in 2012, Fabio Reggiani's Hog, the Reggio Design XXL chopper, is 16 feet high and 32 feet long. To put that in perspective, a slightly above average motorcycle, like the Victoria Cross Country Cycle, is about 9 feet long. As if that wasn't overly ambitious enough, it's also a fully functional vehicle. It has a 5.7V Chevrolet engine with 280 horsepower, and Reggio has driven it 100 meters. Surprisingly, it only took him 7 months to build the vehicle. Number 4. The most expensive car in the world. You might think that spending $1.5 million on a submarine car would be the most that anyone would want to pay for a vehicle. Turns out that's not even halfway there. Indeed, at $3.9 million, the 2013 Lamborghini Veneno Roadster makes the original Rinspeed sQuba seem like an absolute steal. So why is this vehicle, named in honor of a particularly speedy bull from the early 20th century, quite so expensive? Well, for one, its engine has more than 750 horsepower, which allows you to reach 60 miles per hour in about 3 seconds and top out at 220 miles per hour. The construction style is carbon fiber, helping it to grip the ground and aiding in its steering. If all of that doesn't sound like enough reason to spend that much on this vehicle, consider that in March of 2015, the vehicle was put up for sale at $11 million after it had been driven more than 500 miles. Apparently, if you're going to try and overcharge for a car, don't go halfway on the markup. Number 3. Smallest street legal car. Most of the vehicles on this list have so far tried to look cool in some way, but this one is basically a conscious rejection of the whole idea of being cool. It looks like something an 8-year-old might feel a little self-conscious driving. And yet Austin Coulson's 2-foot wide, 4 feet long and 2-foot tall vehicle that he made in 2013, which is modeled on a 1957 Chevy, meets the requirements for being street legal. It's estimated to get about 45 miles to the gallon, meaning with its tiny gas tank that it can get about 22 miles before he has to refuel. There actually seemed to be some controversy online about whether this vehicle was legitimately street legal. Despite the fully functional headlights, seatbelt, windshield with wiper and horn, it wasn't enough. You see, the vehicle only goes a maximum of 25 miles per hour, and that's allowed in villages and most suburban areas, but many highways have a minimum speed limit of about 40 miles per hour. Both the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and the Guinness Book of World Records are on board with it being street legal, however, with the former even providing it license plates. Coulson said that he wasn't protective about his record, looking forward to when he could see an even smaller version of the car. Number 2. Most political vehicle. It may just look like the person who made this just wanted to be silly, but actually Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's fame had a real point to make when he had Flash Hopkins and Tom Kennedy created in Oakland, California in 2007. It was one in a series of vehicles that Cohen rode in a nationwide demonstration against corruption and misspending in government. In particular, it's a protest against runaway military spending, with Kennedy claiming at the time that the US Armed Forces had enough firepower to destroy every major city in the world 10 times over. As a result of that, educational funding in America had suffered, making the situation as topsy-turvy as this topsy-turvy bus. The whole awareness campaign was no crankish act on Cohen's part. The priorities campaign that these vehicles were part of promoting included hundreds of powerful members, including business executives, senior members of the military from admirals to generals, and even members of the Pentagon. But to borrow a phrase from tvtropes.org, your mileage may vary on how effective a way this was to make the point about military overspending. Number 1. Fastest ground vehicle. On October the 15th, 1997, Andy Green broke the sound barrier with the Thrust SSC in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. This was the first time that this happened under conditions that were officially sanctioned. He was traveling 763 miles per hour in a vehicle propelled by a pair of Rolls-Royce Spey engines. These are the same engines, by the way, that are mounted on Phantom F4 jets. It took him about 20 seconds to reach that ground speed. In doing this, he broke a record that had stood for 50 years. There was some dispute over this this record, though, with a Budweiser rocket car in 1979 having supposedly gone over 1,000 miles per hour. However, the equipment used to measure that speed didn't seem to be used properly, such as the radar being used on a television recording instead of on the vehicle itself, so Guinness sides with Thrust SSC on this one. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel for brand new videos every day of the week. Also, I've got a podcast. It's called BrainFood, and it's got educational, entertaining content just like this. It's a bit longer form and goes into a lot of depth on a specific subject, getting into all of the fascinating little details. You can check it out through the link in the description below, or just search your favorite podcast app for BrainFood. And if you like this YouTube channel, you are sure to love that podcast. But if you want to watch something else right now, why not check out a related video from the TopTenz archives over there on the right? And as always, thank you for watching.